Wait, that's happened? Coffee was almost banned in England? Imagine being arrested for drinking coffee. Sounds ridiculous, right? But in 17th century England, that fear was very real. History is packed with unbelievable true events, yet few are as bizarre as the moment coffee itself became a national panic. Accused of corrupting society, weakening loyalty to the crown, and even plotting rebellion. And those who spoke against it weren't sleepy critics. They were kings, politicians, and terrified authorities who believed coffee might actually overthrow the government. Imagine walking into a London coffee house in the 1600s. Instead of quiet sipping and laptop screens, you'd hear heated arguments, political debates, poetry readings, gossip, stock trading, and even medical advice, all happening at once. It wasn't just about caffeine. Coffee houses were seen as dangerous. So dangerous, in fact, that England almost banned coffee entirely. Back then, England wasn't a nation of tea drinkers yet. That came later. In the mid-1600s, coffee arrived from the Ottoman Empire, carried into ports like London and Oxford. People didn't know what to think of it at first. It smelled strange, it tasted bitter, but it did something remarkable. It kept people awake, and very quickly, that became a problem. Coffee houses exploded in popularity. For just 1 penny, anyone could walk in, buy a cup of coffee, and stay for hours discussing politics, religion, philosophy, trade, or scandal. It didn't matter if you were a nobleman or a blacksmith, you had the same right to speak. That scared the authorities. These places earned a nickname, penny universities. Because with a single coin, you could learn more than at Oxford or Cambridge. At least, that's what people said. But the louder the debates grew, the more nervous the government became. England was still recovering from civil war and political chaos. The monarchy had only recently returned after Oliver Cromwell's rule. The last thing the crown wanted was citizens staying up all night, drinking caffeine, and discussing revolution. Some even claimed that coffee houses were seminaries of sedition, schools of rebellion. Then came the pamphlets. Angry writers called coffee a health hazard. They said it dried the body, weakened men, ruined marriages, and stole energy from proper work. One satirical pamphlet called The Women's Petition Against Coffee claimed that the drink was a useless, tasteless, stinking puddle water that made their husbands dull and unromantic. Coffee, they said, was destroying English masculinity. But coffee house regulars fired back with their own pamphlets, declaring coffee a drink of intelligence, wit, and virtue. London had entered a full-scale caffeine propaganda war. In 1675, King Charles II had enough. He issued a royal proclamation to shut down every coffee house in England. His reasoning? Coffee houses encouraged false news, public disorder, and dangerous political conversations. If people wanted to discuss matters of the state, they should do so in Parliament, not over a hot cup of coffee while shouting across a smoky table. But the ban didn't work. Why? Because everyone loved coffee, especially government officials themselves. Within just 2 weeks, the ban was quietly reversed. Coffee houses reopened and continued to thrive. Instead of banning them, the Crown started using them for surveillance, for gathering public opinion, and even for spreading its own rumors. Coffee houses became a strangely accepted part of public life, both feared and relied upon. Ironically, these lively hubs helped shape modern Britain. The London Stock Exchange began in a coffee house called Jonathan's. Lloyd's of London, the famous insurance market, started in another. Newspapers, business networks, political clubs, scientific societies, all began in coffee houses fueled by caffeine and conversation. By the early 1700s, tea eventually stole the spotlight thanks to British trade routes and heavy promotion by the East India Company. But coffee never disappeared, and its early history left a mark. In fact, some historians argue that coffee helped build the Enlightenment itself. The Age of Ideas may have run not on philosophy, but on caffeine. So, the next time you sit in a coffee shop and hear people debating politics or philosophy over lattes and espressos, remember this. In the 1600s, that very act once terrified a king. England almost banned coffee. Instead, it helped spark modern thinking. All from a strange little bean that kept people awake long enough to start asking dangerous questions. If you enjoyed this strange piece of history, give it a like and don't forget to subscribe for more.